So there's this extremely weird group of people. We in the boutique left like to call them the dumb left, but I don't think that that's an appropriate label, because I don't think any of these people are actually left wing. And so I'm going to be making this video about the Gray Zone's Max Blumenthal. So he had a clip here that made the rounds on Twitter the other day, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So the Gray Zone has been on a little bit of they've been going hardcore lately with their anti-left propaganda talking points. They've been saying a lot of things like how they recently published this transphobic review of a transphobic book, claiming that it's fighting. It's like something about fighting breadtube or some stupid ass bullshit. I was gonna cover that, but I decided I'm not even gonna bother. It's too cringy. But this one was really bizarre. This one's really strange to me. And so I wanted to play this. And so this is Max Blumenthal, child of Bill Clinton's top aide, Sidney Blumenthal, saying some very interesting stuff about climate change.
We're going to see it, this contradiction between these supposed green parties and the working class across the left sharpen in the coming years as this narrative of the climate emergency is pushed. I'm not denying.
So, okay, we start off. The narrative of the climate emergency. Well, Boulder, Colorado had 600 buildings burned down a couple days after Christmas, and it snowed less than 24 hours later, right? We are seeing flooding all across the United States. We're seeing massive tornadoes destroying major warehouses, killing hundreds of people in the Middle East, or in the Middle West. We're seeing record high temperatures in December. We are seeing parts of the Middle East become uninhabitable. We are seeing parts of Africa become uninhabitable. But this is a narrative. Now, this is a common right-wing propaganda word, narrative. Now, it's again, these are neutral words. Propaganda is neutral. It's not good or bad. It depends on what the propaganda is used for. For example, if I do a healthy eating campaign and I put up posters that talk about how McDonald's is made with poison and it will lead to heart damage and heart attacks, that's propaganda, but it's for good things. It's propaganda to get people to eat healthily. So propaganda is a neutral term. I'm going to say that first up, right? But again, it can be used in a bad way. This is propaganda for the right. And the word narrative is a big propaganda word. But like propaganda, narrative is a neutral word. You can use the word narrative to build a good case. Let's say the narrative that supports that Adolf Hitler was the enemy in World War II. That's a narrative I agree with. Not everyone agrees with that narrative, but I think that the people that disagree with that narrative are pretty fucking bad. So again, but what I mean by this is, again, narrative is a word that right-wingers love to do because they love to say that there's a mainstream narrative, which does exist. That is true. And so when people see, the mainstream narrative, they're skeptical toward the mainstream narrative. They will then go for the subversion. They will then go for the very, the hardcore real truth narrative. And that's what the right spins. They spin this everything you hear in mainstream media is fake. Here's why kind of stuff. So I want to just, tell you that. And then we're going to get into the meat of this one. But again, he's got to cover himself. So he's already talking about the climate emergency narrative. But he's not a climate denier. So let's see why.
Emergency is pushed. I'm not denying climate change. I'm not denying environmental doom. But there is a clear agenda here behind this narrative of climate emergency. There is an agenda behind Greta Thunberg. And it's to tap into an entirely new market to keep global capitalism alive.
I'm going to play that again because it's so ridiculous, and then I'll tell you why.
Climate emergency. There is an agenda behind Greta Thunberg. And it's to tap into an entirely new market to keep global capitalism alive.
So, youth activists saying, Greta Thunberg, you can disagree with the things that she says, Sometimes she goes full cringe. She's a child. It happens, right? But her going to these giant world leader summits and basically calling out the neoliberal establishment, calling out Democratic presidents, calling out labor, calling out all of these groups and parties all across the world and saying that they're not doing enough. That is actually, she's doing that to uphold capital. What? What does that mean? What does that mean? I sincerely, like, what does that mean? So let's find out what that means.
And that's the market of mineral wealth that is required for renewable energy. It's a multi-trillion-dollar market. That's why.
Okay, so asking and demanding and protesting that we stop climate change by moving to renewable resources is upholding global capital because of mineral wealth? Now again, is that a problem? Is, like, let's say, you know, the coup government in Bolivia giving access to lithium mines and reserves to American companies like Tesla, is that a problem? Yes. Are global capitalists definitely trying to take advantage of renewables as they are becoming more and more streamlined, mainstreamed, and popular and required and necessary? Yes. But does that mean we should stick with fossil fuels? I ask you this. What is the solution here? What is the solution that this guy is trying to peddle? Are there problems with how the transition to renewables will happen? Yes. Does that mean we shouldn't transition there? Does that mean the coal is better? Does that mean fossil fuel is better? Like, again, I ask you this. What is the solution? My opinion, we transition to renewables and then also fight global capital at the same time. That's my opinion. Right? But again, right-wing media loves to state all the problems. Everyone on the left is a hypocrite. Like, there's no such thing as the true leftist doesn't exist. They're all hypocrites, and we shouldn't ever do anything at all, because if we do, it's going to do something bad. Something bad will always happen, right? The idea is harm reduction. Minimize the amount of bad in the world. So let's see what else Sidney Blumenthal, Bill Clinton, top aide Sidney Blumenthal's child, has to say on this one.
Al Gore set up Generation Investment Management. So you cash in. I mean, so many people are cashing in on this. And it's necessary for us to completely reorient our economies, to carry out a controlled demolition of our economy, the kind of controlled demolition that we saw accelerate under lockdown last year. And
first of all, there was never any lockdown in the United States. This is like a fucking Mandela effect thing. Like, I live in North Carolina. There was no lockdown. That's fantasy world. But again, so this guy's solution is to advocate for a, quote, controlled demolition of the economy? Well, honestly, that sounds like something I could be interested in. So let's continue listening.
Hear people actually within these respectable left NGOs calling for climate lockdowns in the future, and that being a component of the Green New Deal, and for reducing people's economic capacity, especially working class people. I mean, this will fall on their backs the most harshly. There was this bonkers paper I read by John Pfeffer, who I think is the director of the Institute for Policy Studies in Washington. It's sort of like the bread tube of think tanks. And he complained that those who protest vaccine mandates are making it hard in the future for the government to implement the kind of climate lockdowns, climate lockdowns that will be necessary, as well as imposing criminal penalties on people if they use.
Basically what this guy is selling is he's trying to link fighting against climate change to being like pro-vaccine mandate, pro-fascist, pro-lockdown, pro-tyranny. And again, that's how it works, right? So again, it's all part of the right-wing narrative. It's all part of the right-wing propaganda machine. He's trying to convince people that think that they're left-wing. Like, again, controlled demolition of the economy? That sounds cool. I'm in. But then he spins that into or anti-vax protests, right? Again, you notice how all of this works. What this is trying to do is, again, I've been talking about this for a while. It's a red-brown kind of scenario where he's trying to get people that consider themselves communists or super ultra left-wing to basically embrace nationalist, fascist ideals, right? And so he's trying to connect the protest against climate change to, like, the tyranny, fascist, like, stomping of anti-vax freedom fighters. It's ridiculous nonsense. But there are people that watch the Gray Zone and they go like, wow, these guys are the secret true leftists. They're so left they'll make your fucking head explode. I don't even know. I have no idea. But again, we shouldn't advocate for renewable energy because capitalists will control it. So we shouldn't advocate for anything because capitalists will control it. You want to know why they'll control it? We live in capitalism. So we shouldn't advocate for medicine because capitalists control medicine. We shouldn't advocate for better food because they control food. We shouldn't advocate for better television screens and better PC components because the capitalists control it. We shouldn't advocate for music to be, popularized because capitalists control music. We shouldn't advocate for water coming out of the pipes. Why? Because the capitalists control the water, right? We shouldn't advocate for anything because the capitalists control it because we're in capitalism, and therefore we should be good little drones and basically do nothing. Again, notice how there's no solution here. Notice it's just trying to link together these things to make it drift people into the rightward direction, and it works. It works. When the fucking vaccine came out, I did lose a lot of subscribers from people that are anti-vax left-wingers, according to them. How is that possible? How can you be an anti-vax left-winger? I don't understand. I really don't understand. Without being like a super fucking bizarre out there conspiracy theorist, I really don't understand. So again, this guy really has some bizarre fucking takes. But this one, Greta Thunberg is secretly upholding capital because she supports renewable energy. And guess who has renewable energy? Capital. I just, what? What? What?